And it's time once again for another edition of Screen Test, and I hope that you at home are going to pit your wits against our experts here in the studio. A little later in this programme, we're going to be looking at how they achieved those marvellous special effects in bed knobs and broomsticks. But here's our first clip. It comes from the Queen of Black Magic. Well, let's start with an easy one. Can you tell me which arm the man who grappled with the head wore his watch on?
Was it his right arm?
No, it was his left.
Everyone at home, and it's so good to see lots of children staying up past their bedtime. This week, Thrill Seekers, it's the Mondo of horror that we peek at from behind the sofa. Want to see something scary? Take a look at this. The Mondo of blood and gore, of fear and loathing, of chilled spines and tingled nerves. And don't pretend you don't like it, because at heart we all love a good scream. We love to be frightened. Even tiny little children crave the shocking, the unexplained, the scary. You want proof? 2 words. Andy Peters. Oh, scream, my little chicken, scream. For fear is a necessary emotion. It's fear that tells us not to stare directly at Bob Moncuss's tan for fear of radiation sickness. Fear can be exploited in so many entertaining ways. Movie makers are always trying to scare the holy hell out of us. They're always pushing at the envelope of taste and decency. What are they doing? Pushing. No rehearsal necessary. And tonight, we're letting them push as far as they want to go. Oh, yes, they're pushing, my thrill-seeking voyeurs. They're pushing gratuitous violence. They're pushing gore our way, and we're letting them push hard. Watch now, if you dare, and see if you can spot the innocent young star appearing in this 1974 shocker, The Burning Cross. Answers later.
Look at that. You a big deal, huh? Haven't worn a glory suit for a long time.
Normally, when I introduce comedians on this show, I feel like being as rude to them as possible. But my first guest tonight possesses a fragile, almost childlike quality that stills my roguish tongue. His babyish round head, his tiny chubby cheeks, and his innocent way of looking at the world make me want to smother him in cotton wool. Not to the extent that he stops breathing, oh no. Just enough to keep him safe from the terrors of the outside world. He might be Izzard to you, but to me, he'll always be Eddie. You bring out in me an odd paternal instinct.
Well, you can fuck off. But no, interesting.
You know, you see what you've done immediately. I have a certain small contingent of very elderly fans who would tune in for something. Now,
well, they've got to learn swearing. I mean,
toilet mouth.
Swearing is just great. It's something I'm just into.
It's quite nice. It's refreshing to hear it, isn't it?
And your introduction was lacking the normal anger, so I just thought I'd say
the requisite,
the king word. Just to kick it off.
Eddie, you've been watching a movie for me on behalf of me and the programme, and of course the good people at home, to report back and give us your valued opinion on the subject. The movie was Frankenstein's Daughter. A frightening film?
Sort of quite. It wasn't crap enough in a way. You know, some films are really crap and you go, oh, that's crap. And some films are really quite good and you go, oh, I'm with this. And this one was just kind of bad.
Fell between the two stools?
Yeah, it fell in that sort of rope ladder in between the stools.
I'm going to ask you to give us some details about the plot in just a second, but first of all, thank you for wearing a jacket which will strobe so mightily on TV at home.
Well,
and once again, confuse people who are not quite sure.
It's good. I quite like the strobing effect. I can't quite see it on monitors, but it is nice. They said, oh, it's strobe, so I thought, yeah, keep it.
You know, they'd have
I'm trying to upstage yours doesn't, because yours actually looks great live, but on telly, on the monitor, it's crap.
Yeah. Yeah. You know, if they'd have had that kind of advanced technology back when they were doing Blake 7, it would have been a good show, wouldn't it? They would have made the suits out of
They
that.
would have done a lot of this movement, though, wouldn't they? They would have gone, hey, I think...
Can I put in a request?
No, the strobe, oh.
What I'd like you to do is, I'd like you to do that every time we come to you, and then we'll cut out the bit at the beginning that explains why you're doing it, and people would just think you've got a terrible spine complaint. Or that you're driving.
But I'll sue them. And then big headlines would be great.
OK, well, tell me about Frankenstein's daughter there in your Ponzi Stroby jacket. Tell me about Frankenstein's daughter. Give us, if you will, fill in the bare bones of the plot.
This is a little potted thing that I should have worked out earlier, which I haven't, so it could go for hours. Frankenstein's daughter, well, there's a guy called Frankenstein. His grandson's there, and he's changed his name to hide from being called Frankenstein, and he's just called himself Mr. Frank now, which sounds really crap.
So the film should have been Frank's daughter then?
Yeah, it should be Frank's
It doesn't have the same horror ring to it, though.
And there's also two monsters in it. There's one, the daughter, which he makes, which doesn't look like a daughter. It looks like Fraser out of Dad's Army with a cake on his head. And but there's also this woman who appears in the early thing who just drinks some sort of Ribena kind of affair, and she's another monster who's just a spare.
So really, you don't actually know what went on in the film. You
no,
just
I don't know.
Up.
So he makes a monster, and the monster has a bad time, and then they say, "Oh, no monster," and then he dies, and they die.
It's the kind of film that people are going to want to rush out to see, so they can relate the story.
They can't, can they? Because no one knows where to get it.
Okay, let's have a look at it. Talk us through this first clip that we have here. Please tell me what's going on in Frankie
as well. And he's freaked out. They're always freaked out by their own creations.
Well, wouldn't you be freaked out if you saw that coming towards you?
No, I'd say hello.
So that's the kind of level of special effects of the technology involved in this movie?
That is, but later on it gets worse. I mean, I think that's the best monster, and the later on monster's just got a cake strapped to her head.
Well, we'll come to that. Are horror movies generally something you enjoy? Do you like that kind of film?
I do, but the full-level gore Hellraiser thing, which I should really like, I can't take that amount of... It just scares me. You
don't like bloody scenes? You don't like gratuitous dripping entrails?
No, I'm quite good in graveyards, though. I go in and talk to dead people and just... No, I do. If you're ever in a graveyard, just go in and say, hi, how you guys doing? Sorry you're dead, I'm not dead, I'm just wandering around. And then it's okay, because if they ever go boo, you say, no, leave him alone, he's okay. Then get someone else who's just about to come into the graveyard. It's a karma thing, just go with it.
You've been drinking a lot of Diet Coke today or anything?
A lot of Ribena, actually.
Ribena are going to be so filled when this show goes out.
Of course, this isn't actually Ribena, this is Ribena with 3 B's.
You know what's going to be good is when you see this show going out, every time your mouth moves up Ribena, and we'll have put the word over here, soft drink. I'm going to show you another clip now. This is another horror movie. This one, there's a lot of interesting facts about this, which I'd like to spread and share with you here. This is The Terror. Put the clip on. Let's have a look at this. This is from 1963. Now that's Jack Nicholson in a very early role. He made a lot of these horror movies before he became incredibly successful and didn't have to do this sort of rubbish anymore. But this movie was made by Roger Corman, the guy who made a lot of cheap movies, and this film was actually shot in 3 days. In just 3 days, they shot this entire movie.
She's his lover?
No, that's just a spider who just leapt on the bed. And look, has been
She dies in the shape of a cross.
You see, Jack's not giving it his all. He's thinking it's been made in 3 days. Who's ever going to watch this? Little do you know.
Waiting for Easy Rider to happen.
Yeah, that's exactly what he's doing. This woman there, this was his wife. This was his then wife. And I think what he's actually thinking here is, just wait till I'm really famous. I'll ditch you and get a string of young girls.
She looks quite young.
She's great. I've got nothing wrong with her, nothing against the woman, but he did that big celebrity thing. Got rid of the old, in with the new.
Free Andre.
Free Andre. They made another movie like that called Free Willy years later.
Free Andre,
this was the inspiration for it.
Who was trying to escape.
But if she'd have said Free Willy, he'd have done something entirely different. Oh my goodness! You wish you hadn't eaten that now, don't you?
She just nodded there.
You see, shot it in 3 days, and not a lot of time was spent on this special effects sequence, but it doesn't matter. You're right. Suspension of disbelief is all in the horror film.
But she's just doing face pack. It's just mud and it works.
And I don't know what that means. Is that her soul leaving, do you think, or just a big bird?
I think it's a bird with a message saying she's dead.
Even here, Jack's combing the hair forward, you see? Even there.
Well, the nose opened up at the end.
What do you think? You like that?
Yeah, I think big scary time in a sort of non-scary kind of holding the bat kind of way. It's a holding the bat kind of film, isn't it?
It's a close to holding back kind of film, but done in 3 days. I think that's pretty impressive.
Yeah, but no one really cares. I mean, you know, no one says, oh, it's a cut in different film, but made very quickly. And no one says, this is a masterpiece, but they took years to make it. I won't watch that. I'm going to watch something shot in 3 days. It's
So, what you're trying to say here, I suppose, is the excitement that I felt being able to spread the news. This was made only in 3 days. No one cares?
In the final analysis, I think if you check the box office figures, it won't show the big thing.
But for me, a bringer of information to you, receiver of information.
I find very interesting in a kind of train spotter kind of way.
Thank you for choosing your words so very sensitively there.
Well, we have train spotters in many different areas, and train spotters can be wild and sexy people. You just have to spot fast trains and get on them. If they had train spotters who jumped on trains, that's a train spotter jumper.
You're just trying to confuse the issue, and you're
sexy.
backpedaling desperately now to try and spare my...
No, I'm forward-pedaling into the new idea of train spotters, this new sexy people. The big hit, Tom Cruise, the train spotter. Big action movie, leaps on things and gets the numbers he couldn't quite see when they went past.
Okay, let's have a final visit to Frankenstein's daughter. This is probably, I suspect, the last time many people will ever look at this movie, having seen these bits of it now. But please fill us in now, this final burst.
Oh, yeah.
Your stream of consciousness is quite alarming.
It is.
You talk about it, then you go, I never look at the straight and do that, and look at the sky, it's beautiful.
It's called drugs, and it works.
You're toxin-free, I know, because we took that sample earlier, and you're clear, Mr.
No, I
Izzard.
find if I take drugs, I start saying, would you like some insurance? Really boring thing. So.
But when you see a movie, do you manage to keep quiet, or do you talk like this throughout it? I mean,
well, one's like that I just no. Have you seen that thing late at night? Derek, the German detective series. Derek.
No, I haven't seen
Turn
this.
the sound off, and I just do all the voices on there. That's great. And they're just going, hey, and it's just great. You do all the voices just for my own sad thing.
Well, it's not so sad, really.
Okay.
I've noticed because you're like myself. You're known as a very fashionable young man about town. But earlier on, I offered you a shirt, and you were having none of it.
No, I've given up underwear, shirts, everything. Socks, I don't wear them anymore.
I just asked you about the shirts. You don't have to spoil my entire evening by going on about the pant region as well.
It just saves on having to get them.
What do you mean it saves on having to get them? It's not so hard to buy a shirt, is it?
Yeah, I know, but sometimes they don't go with the Nehru kind of jacket.
You don't have to wear a Nehru. I'm not saying you should wear a shirt.
I'm not wearing a shirt.
I know you're not.
You wear them, and it's a big problem for you.
I'm not saying you have to
Does jungle really go with green?
No, I'm not. Look,
you're going into your phase of wear anything with anything.
No, look, don't get so defensive, for goodness. I'm just saying, look.
I'm just loud now.
Look, I'm just wondering why shirt wearing is such a thing. Is it a comfortable round the neck thing you don't like? Because Christopher Walken, you might not know this.
He never wears shirts?
He does wear shirts. Of course he wears shirts. You've seen him wear shirts.
He never. All his films.
No, he does wear the shirt. Will you allow me to finish the Christopher Walken anecdote?
It's tattooed on.
When I met the one time I was lucky enough to meet Mr. Walken, he was wearing a shirt, and I said, "Nice shirt, Chris." And he didn't have your sort of response. He said, "Yes, it's 2 sizes too big." And I said, "Why is that?" And he said, "I find it very uncomfortable around the neck."
I just
not
don't
about
wear.
Christopher Walken impersonation. I think you'll agree.
Next time you see him, just say, "Look, Chris, don't wear the shirt."
No, because you see, people, shirt is good. Shirts are good. People give you something to tuck in. Shirts are good.
You don't wear a shirt in order to tuck it in. You just tuck it into your pants, don't you?
Yeah.
You still do that?
You couldn't do that. You don't have pants. You couldn't tuck the shirt in. That's why you don't wear the shirt.
That's why I don't wear the shirt.
It's actually purely because you don't want to wear the pants. Have we hit upon something here?
No, I think you've lost me somewhere, Dan.
No, I haven't lost you at all, and don't you try that flim-flam. I want to get to the bottom of the shirt aversion. And I'm not leaving till we do. And no one's leaving till we get to the all wearing shirts. What? I'm just curious. There's the shirt thing. I don't
wear shirts.
No, but listen.
Because they're made by a soft drinks company.
No. You see, I'm worried about you. The rough jacket on the sensitive nipple.
It's got a lining in. The jacket has got a lining in because he makes linings.
There must be. Why no shirts? I'm just curious.
Today I have no shirt. Tomorrow it could be shirt.
So you do
sometimes
wear them
I wear dresses. Sometimes I wear trousers. I wear what the hell I want.
I
Back
know
off,
you wear
kid.
what you want.
I know what I'm doing.
But no, earlier on you dismissed it. Totality. In completion, you said, I. You didn't give it this dramatic pause. I'm doing this. I'm underlining this performance-wise. I. And it was as if for me.
I did have another word after that, didn't I?
Maybe. You know in a movie sometimes when the soundtrack music goes down, you know something important's happening.
They say, aye, and then they do a big long thing. If you notice at the end of some things where they say, we've got 20 seconds to live, and that 20 seconds lasts 4 minutes.
Yeah, because they slow it
That's what
right
you're
down.
doing now, aren't you?
Well, and you went, I do not wear shirts. And I remember thinking, how very odd. And now we're raising this, and now you didn't say I do not wear pants. Because I was not offering you pants. Our pre-show meetings aren't that interesting.
I said I'm happy not wearing a shirt. You said you can wear some of my shirts.
Is that what you say? I'm happy not wearing a shirt?
Yeah.
Oh. Sorry to waste your time then.
I quite like some of your shirts.
You look to me like you're physically fit. You look to me as though you can look after yourself, you can handle yourself. You look to me as though at one stage you have perhaps studied martial arts. Would I be correct in this estimation?
Judo when I was 6.
Judo, a good martial art to study?
Well, when you're 6, it's great. So it means the big 14-year-old guys can just throw you all about in a big sort of jacket.
But that's always that's the inherent flaw in judo, is that unless you come up against someone who's wearing very thick, coarse pyjamas with 2 grip holds there, it's no good at all. You can't find someone in a T-shirt. There would be no good with you with no shirt on at all with judo.
No, I mean, judo was, you had to throw people, but the big people, I just couldn't get over my shoulder. That was difficult. And then I got a book on jiu-jitsu, which was great. And it showed how to stop someone with a pencil. And what you do is you get the pencil, you get their hand, you put the pencil between their fingers and then squeeze. But you've got to ask them to stand there while you're inserting the pencil. And I'm sure they just go, no. You know, a good baddie will go, no, I won't give you my hand. So go on. Have you got a pencil? No, go on then. All right.
Well, now you see, this is it's all well and good.
Yeah.
But I'm using this for a reason. I want us to get to modern martial arts movies, because I'm now going to look at a lot of them. And I'd like you, shirt or no shirt, to stick around and enjoy them with me.
Okay.
Okay. The current in thing among slavering fanboy film buffs are the Fast and Furious action movies coming out of Hong Kong. But there's a new ingredient being added to the automatic weapons, the fast-paced editing and the high body count that characterises these heroic bloodshed epics. That'll teach you to say this chicken is rubbery. That extra special something? Hong Kong babes. Hong Kong babes with guns. Hong Kong babes with big guns and bad attitude. Moon Lee, seen here in New Killers in Town, is one of Hong Kong's leading femme fatales, with a reputation more for her action than her acting. But nobody cares what reputation Sibel Hu, Miyamoto Yoko and Maria Eng, stars of Deadly China Dolls, have. The important thing is that they can not only beat the tar out of bad guys, they look great while they're doing it. Of course, there have been fighting women in kung fu movies for the last 20 years or so, but it's only recently that tradition has relaxed enough to show not just their fighting skills, but their knickers as well. As the genre moves on to girls having less and less clothes and bigger guns, it's not surprising that this type of film is finding favour with audiences outside of Hong Kong. Other femme fatale movies worth looking out for include Princess Madam, Born to Fight and the immensely popular Inspector Wears a Skirt 1 and 2. Try to imagine Prime Suspect with a kickboxing Helen Mirren and you're halfway there. Although Detective Chief Inspector Tennyson could never do this. Not without cutting down on the Rothmans anyway. Femme fatale features. They're overly violent, they're overly explicit, and thank heavens, they're overly here. What do the following have in common? J. Arthur Rank, Richard III, Gary Glitter, Gareth Hunt. That's right. All these names have entered the lexicon of Cockney rhyming slang. Well, this evening, I think we can add another to that hallowed list. Here she is in action in Countess Dracula.
Look at me. My face. My body. Hold me.
No. Blood. Whose blood?
No matter. I did it for you, my darling. To please you.
And quite right, too. Here she is, Miss Ingrid Pitt. Ingrid, thank you so much for being here. It's great to have you with us. Ingrid, Eddie, Ingrid, Ingrid, Eddie,
Hi.
Ingrid.
We have pressed knees.
I just want to make something perfectly clear so you don't feel we're holding out on you this evening. Eddie's not wearing a shirt and neither of us are wearing underpants.
Oh my gosh. And I'm wearing both.
Ingrid, we're going to talk about the whole vampire thing in a minute, if that's okay. But, you know, the first big movie which I saw you in, and I suppose this was the first big starring role you had, was in the great film Where Eagles Dare.
Yes.
Clint Eastwood and Richard Burton.
Yes.
In one movie. What were they like? Were they kind of all boys together, or were they kind of...
Yes, they were very much like that. It was very hard to get a proper word in there. And at the very end of it all, Clint Eastwood said to me, "We should tell you a secret. we were driving back in the white Rolls Royce, going on the very last day of shooting, and the secret was that both of them had a bet who would get me in the sack first.
Clint and Richard had been bet. Oh.
Yes.
And which one won the bet? You mean it was a tie? You know, we're not wearing any underpants this evening if that's any kind of incentive.
But darling, one of them is dead, so I mustn't say.
Well, we're not going to hold you responsible. This was a long time ago. Vampire movies, that's what we know and love you for best of all. The biting scenes in vampire movies, is that something that comes naturally to you, or do they coach you? They say, this is how a vampire would do it, or are you allowed to find your own way intuitively?
You do make me laugh.
I'm having a laugh, I am. Did you like the bloodiness of the films? Because the Hammer movies, looking today, they look kind of tame. But they were decried, especially when they first appeared in the late 50s, as being gruesome, as having no redeeming value whatsoever, and as being, you know, called too gory and too bloody. Did you feel that way about them?
I think one of my Hammer horror films, the Countess Dracula film, didn't have any horror in it at all. And I always wanted the director, Peter Sasdy, to hang up the prostitute by her feet and cut her throat and pour the blood into a bucket and pour it over my body, because there's a scene in there, which you must have seen, where she has a totally dry sponge, which she rubs her face with, and it's pathetic, because of course she never gets any younger, even though she wasn't a virgin, and virgin blood is actually what makes you younger.
What kind of reaction? I'm just going to give people a second or two for all that to sink in. We covered a lot of ground then. But what kind of reaction did you get? You're sitting at a meeting with the producers here, and then you say, you know what I think, fellas? Hang up the prostitutes, let her neck, let me bathe in it.
No, but darling, there wasn't any horror, really. It's pathetic. You can't have a story that is totally based on bathing in virgin's blood, or any blood, and not have any blood there.
Well, there's a sensual frisson implied.
What is he saying, darling?
I don't know.
He says it's more by implication than actual loads of blood everywhere. I must admit, when I watched it, I didn't think, oh, there's a lack of, get a few prostitutes strung up by the legs and...
She's mentioned it. You won't be able to think of anything else about it?
I got lost around the sponge bit, but yeah, I totally agree.
I wanted it dripping with blood.
What movie, out of all your movies, do you have a favourite? Is there any one in particular you like, or is it just generally blurred together and you remember the whole movie-making experience with joy?
Darling, my favourite movie I'm just about to do with Hammer.
Are you making a new one with Hammer?
Yeah. Hammer's going to have a new chapter in their lives, and so do I, and we're going to do it together.
And what will it be called?
It's called Dracula Who?
Dracula Who?
Yeah.
And will you be hanging anyone up by their ankles by any chance?
No. It's going to be wonderful.
And who's playing
Dracula
the Count then?
will turn into a vegetarian. I can't tell you who's playing the Count because it's a big secret, but it's a big star and he has agreed to do it. He's read the script and he's going to do it, so
Dracula's
we're going to do it.
A vegetarian? She sucked the juice out of a melon or something. How does it work?
I'll suck the juice out of you in a minute if you like.
No, I just wondered how he did it as a vegetarian.
Listen, I wrote this film. This is a great film.
If either of you would like me to leave while you get on with it.
We're chatting.
Okay, we don't mind you being here.
Have you ever had anyone threaten to suck the juice out of you before?
Yeah, this guy with a melon the other day.
Let's have a look at a clip. This is another clip from Countess Dracula, and this is you in a bit of a tumbling scene, a bit of a rumble-tumble.
Oh, that one.
Leg over stuff.
Where he lost his moustache.
Is that what happened here?
Yeah.
That's a great sort of 70s top you're wearing there, by the way.
Isn't it great?
Father's death. My own homecoming.
She'll be better. She'll be very much better.
He's wearing a very nice shirt there, Eddie. I don't know if you noticed that.
Yeah.
Yes.
But no underpants.
No.
You're so beautiful.
Said with the authority that only the person who was there could muster. He's gonna suck the juice right out of you.
No. She laughed hysterically because she looked at him and he'd lost half his moustache.
So when he came up, he'd left his moustache somewhere?
It wasn't there.
And when did you find it?
And I said, stop. stop shooting and all that stuff. And we looked through half the haystack and couldn't find the half moustache because poor Tom Smith couldn't have any more because he didn't grow his own and we needed so many. So finally I got bored, went to my dressing room, took off my corset and everything else. And wouldn't you believe it? There was the little moustache right on my belly button.
There's the furry little devil down there. You won't ask how he got there. But let me just backpedal again there. You said he couldn't... so much information you were from there. You couldn't find the moustache, but he couldn't grow his own, and then you got through so many of them. How many moustaches were you getting through on this shoot?
Oh, at least 30.
30 over what period? 30 a day?
No,
or 30?
no, it was just through the whole film. He didn't grow his own moustache.
So he was just, what, willy-nilly leaving them all over the place?
Acting.
Well, it's no wonder he's not being interviewed here now, and you're the queen of horror, because he's just a talentless
I said it to him at the time. I said, Shandor, why don't you grow your own moustache?
And what did he say in response to this?
He couldn't. He's like that.
Why could...
He could grow a very big beard down here, but the moustache he just couldn't.
Well, mate, couldn't you have grown a big beard there and then sort of stuck it up? Do you ever go out to America? They have the big horror conventions.
Yes.
And what kind of event? What's it like? I've
Well,
never been
it's
to one.
mind-blowing. It's totally massive. You can't imagine it. There are all these thousands of people at the airport, and they send you this stretch limo, and you feel very lonely in it.
Well, that's what stretch
And then you
limos are
go to
for.
the hotel, and they're all there with big placards and say, Ingrid, Ingrid, and they're all screaming, you know. And it's usually very, very fun.
And then these fan-type people lumber up to you. And
Oh,
go,
they are
"Miss Pitt."
so wonderful. No. No, they are so
I've
nice
crossed the
to
line
me.
there, haven't I?
Listen, you're pushing.
One more question, which isn't specifically about the movie, but I'm dying to know, is you used to do... Eddie tries to tell us earlier that he was doing jiu-jitsu. I'm not sure if I believe him. You, early on in your career, I believe you studied judo for a while in the same place
Never,
where...
no, I did karate.
Well, you know...
Shut the... No.
Well,
big
you know what I'm...
darling.
you
It's
know
a
what
big
I'm saying.
difference.
Well, I know, but let's, for the sake of shorthand, let's, move it on. So, a martial art, judo, you karate,
Do you mean
whatever.
they're all the same?
Well, more or less to me. Anyway,
What's your mind?
you studied one of those things at the same place, Elvis Presley.
Yeah, with Nishiyama. Nishiyama's dojo.
Is Nishiyama, is that like Japanese for Elvis Presley?
No, that's the name of the sensei.
He's the
And
teacher.
Elvis Presley went to the same dojo as I did.
Was he ever there training while you were there?
No, we did 2 katas together. Nishiyama decided it would be a good idea that Elvis and I did 2 katas, and after Elvis had died, the press rang up a lot of women like Diana
I thought you were going to say
Doris
after
and
he
so
died,
on.
I'd beaten my hands down.
Stop it!
Stop me before I kill again!
So the press rang up and said, I understand you knew Elvis Presley. What did you do with him? Because all the women claimed they'd slept with him. And I said, well, I did 2 katas with him. And they hung up the phone.
Yeah, well, they thought you were just
They
talking
didn't
dirty.
know what it was.
What is a kata?
A kata is an amount of movement, a choreographed amount of movements in Shotokan or in karate. And Elvis used it on stage. I mean, if you see him in his stage performances, you can see, he did it so often, so much. Not like that. That's the first thing that
That is very good impersonation of him
you're
doing
doing. But
some
that
of
is
that.
not... Look, I'm not having this
This is the
karate.
This is the backwards and forwards thing where 2 people will react to each other, but without actually touching. And
Listen, listen, I love this man. Don't you make fun of Elvis Presley.
I'm not making fun of the king, I tell you that.
After I did katas with him, I loved him even more.
But you know one thing, and I don't mean to cast aspersions on Elvis's ability as a karate kata type person, but I had the feeling that he was given like that triple black belt, king of the world karate
He was
expert.
very, very
He was
good.
no good because
He
I've
was
seen it.
very
No, he
good
wasn't.
at karate.
Please forgive me. I've seen him in a documentary where they showed him doing karate, and he had black
really
belt. No,
disagree
no.
with
Let me
you.
show you what he did. And everyone else is doing proper karate, and he can only kick that high.
Oh, that is not
So he kicked like that.
You
And everyone
are
going,
pathetic.
well done, Elvis. You're the best. And he can only kick
That was
like
probably
that.
because of his
You know
tight-
Elvis.
That was probably because
It's
of
true.
his tight trousers, darling.
It's nothing to do with his trousers. He had no ability of karate whatsoever. I'm swearing. I'm a huge fan of... Don't know. Elvis, yes, hands. No, the kicking. He didn't have the ability.
Do you know what? This is
I know
not
what
true
I'm
because I did 2 katas with him.
Ingrid, I'm
Jonathan,
sorry to break it to
I
you.
am really sorry.
This
too,
is,
because
I stake my Elvis fanhood upon it.
look, I love that man. I did 2 cuts.
I love
with
him as only
I
a
know
friend.
how high he could kick.
He couldn't kick.
I know how high he could
Look,
kick better
normal
than
kick
you
thus.
did because I was kicking with him. I actually was kicking with him.
Yeah, but look, that's you kicking.
What do you know?
There's
You
Elvis
weren't
kicking.
even there.
That's it. And that's on a good day. There's look, here's someone else.
He's just a
You
nutter.
kick them, they go over there.
You know what?
They
You
go,
have
who's
no
that tapping me
idea.
in the shin? Look, that's rubbish.
I'm not having this.
This is Elvis. Look,
I'm just not having this.
Oh,
You
well.
weren't even there.
have I pushed too far?
Yeah. He was such a beautiful
Will you
kicker.
accept, please,
He
an
could-
apology from me on behalf of Elvis
Well,
Presley?
darling, he's dead now. I can't say a thing.
But I'm saying I'm sorry if I've upset you about Elvis, because I've seen documentaries and I thought just a tiny
Well,
little...
I know I did it with him, so it's okay.
You know I know nothing. I'm a fool, I'm a clown, I
You
look
weren't
like
there.
a girl.
Not
You can't
entirely,
use that as a
darling.
negative.
It's his lash.
And I'm proud of it. Can I just say, to have you here this evening gave me almost as much joy as the time I knelt before my wife and she was naked and she squeezed our first child out on the floor in front of me. That's how happy I've been to have you both here this evening.
And what did the placenta look like?
It looked like a big liver. Ingrid, Pitt, Eddie Izzard. Before we say goodnight, at the beginning of the show I showed a clip of an obscure movie and there was a fellow in it dressed as a member of the KKK and the poser we asked was, does anyone know who it is? You got any idea?
Yeah.
Who is it?
OJ.
O.J. Simpson. Yeah, remind yourself.
Next week on Mondo Rosso.
Well, my blood-loving friends, I hope that this show has been horrific for all the right reasons. If at any time we've managed to make your stomach turn or churn and filled your mind with shocking images that you will never be able to forget no matter how much you try, well, we're terribly glad to have done our job so well. In the words of Elvis from the film Paradise Hawaii Style, we had a little party on the way over here, there was dance to the music and doggy yum-yums. And now something that's frightening, but for all the wrong reasons. Here's Roy Rogers, not an easy thing for me to say, from the film The Trail of Robin Hood.
Get a Christmas tree for Johnny, that's all you have to do. Get a Christmas tree for Johnny, and the world will smile at you.
A prime example of horror at work next on BBC2, the Mondo movie, is The Mask of Satan.
The world may bring will fade and disappear. Get a Christmas tree for Johnny, that's all you have to do. Get a Christmas tree for Johnny, and the world will smile at you.